This episode of Techno Buffalo is brought to you by the LG G3.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the episode of Rettinger's Riffs. This is the show where I riff on anything that's going on in my mind in the world of technology. This question I've been getting a lot, especially the last 3 months, and that is, what is the next spec battlefield in the world of smartphones? Is it screens? Is it RAM? Is it camera? Is it something else? I want to answer that question, or at least answer what I hope it's going to be. This is Rettinger's Riffs. Let's start riffing. So phones over the last 2 years have changed quite a bit, and there's been a battle for specs from all the major manufacturers. HTC, Samsung, Apple, LG, and kind of everybody in between. We've seen companies fight over clock speed, number of cores they can get into processors, megapixels on camera, screen resolution, now all the way up to QHD. There's really very little area left for things to go. Now, there are certainly small things that we could see, incremental updates to camera. We've seen some sort of near field type stuff. More use for NFC could be another thing. A universal standard for wireless charging could certainly be another. The push to get to 4K could obviously be another. But the big one that I think people are forgetting and that we need is freaking battery life. I don't care how many cores the thing has. I don't care how many pixels the display is pushing. If it's not gonna last me, it ain't gonna work. We've seen a push for phones to get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And batteries have not gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Battery technology has been pretty much stagnant for the most part over the past 6 years. Now, the past 6 months, we've seen little improvements, not in the battery itself, but how you put juice inside of that battery. We've got quick charging, turbocharging, whatever you want to call it, built into these new devices, which is very nice, but if you're not near an outlet, no matter how fast you can charge it, isn't going to matter. So what I'm hoping we're going to see, and we're already starting to see sort of early stages that I think with devices like the Droid Turbo, a little bit of extra heft for a longer battery life. I think people would easily make that trade. Let me stop the video real fast to thank our friends at LG. I don't want to give away how we did that, but there were green screens, multiple cameras, and magic all involved. This guy, the new LG G3, is the latest smartphone in LG's award-winning G series with a larger display, clearer pixel, and laser-precise camera and superior smart interactivity. LG G3 is the first smartphone in the US with a quad HD display and also the world's first smartphone with freaking laser autofocus. Pew! Listen, if the advertisements for phones and magazines teach us anything, it's that thin is in. But we can't live up to those standards now, can we? Phones are meant to have curves. I want a little bit of extra junk in order to get through 1 to 2 days without any issue. I want to be able to not worry about pushing my screen brightness all the way up. I don't want to worry about playing an extra 10 minutes of threes. I don't want to worry about watching just one more YouTube video or my phone's going to die. Battery life technology needs to improve. Whether it's a move away from current lithium-ion tech, whether it's just putting bigger batteries inside of phones, whether it's not software gets smarter, sort of sit battery better, whatever it is, I'm hoping that the next battlefield we're going to see is battery life. I hope we're seeing companies advertise, hey, you can get 48 hours out of these phones like we're seeing with the Droid Turbo, and even longer times with these phones. I care much more about that than I do about processor and RAM. The reality is that you have to search really hard to find a phone that's not going to be good at this point. You have to look to find a phone that's going to lag. You got to look to find a phone that doesn't have at least an HD display. 2 gigs of RAM, which almost every phone out there has now, is plenty of RAM. Even 1 gig phones still are working fine. The specs matter less and less. They're sort of getting what I think depreciating returns from sort of pushing that spec limit. I still maintain that I see very little difference between a QHD screen and a good 1080p screen. In fact, it's really hard for me to tell honestly which is which. So I hope the next thing we see is battery life. Make these things last longer before you start worrying about how many pixels you can push. My opinion is that consumers would pay the money and line up for a phone that could last them many, many, many days more than they would one that's got a higher resolution display, or it's got extra cores, or is now up to 4 gigahertz, whatever it might be. I think that's the phone consumers would want. Am I wrong? Am I not wrong? I would love to hear your thoughts about it. Something more important to you that you care about? Do you just want to carry an external battery with you or an external battery case? And I'm way out of line. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Until next time, when I'm riffy on something else, I am John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo. See you guys next video. Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We love making tech videos here. If you like watching them as much as we love making them and just enjoy playing with the latest consumer electronics gear, check us out. Hit the big subscribe button. We got new videos coming out almost every single day. We also have a channel on Twitch where we play games, sometimes not so well, at twitch.tv/technobuffalo.